Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this World Investment Forum session on investing in innovation-based development, organized in partnership with IASP, the International Association of Science Parks and Areas of Innovation. My name is Jacopo Dettoni. I am the editor of FDI Intelligence, the foreign investment monitor of the Financial Times in London. More importantly, today, I have the pleasure to be moderating this session. Science and technology parks, or STPs, or even more recently, areas of innovation, or AOIS, have multiplied in the past few years as the public and private sector alike scramble to meet the ever-evolving needs for innovation of the knowledge economy. There is not one single paradigm for the development of these areas or these parks. In fact, the spectrum of experiences is very wide. And this session will try to pin down those best models and strategies to fund these projects and make them possible, exploring the ways in which governments and public administrations can intervene, but also how these projects may be attractive for private investors. We have a few introductory remarks by our hosts, UNCTAD and IASP. A couple of keynote speeches will follow, and a panel discussion will wrap up the whole session. So without further ado, let me introduce Mr. James Zhang, who is the Director of Investment and Enterprise at UNCTAD. Mr. Zhang, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jacopo. It's a great pleasure to have you moderating this session. Distinguished panelists and participants, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this high-level panel on science parks and areas of innovation models. The title of this event is Investing Innovation Based on Development, and this is jointly organized with the International Association of Science Parks and Areas of Innovation. We're so happy to work together and to work with Ava Land, who is also here. Thank you very much, Ava. This edition of the World Investment Forum features a full track dedicated to special economic zones. And this event is one of the highlights. And this reflects our goal of bringing together the broad SEZ community to address many dimensions and the development implications of these geographically and economic specialized areas. UNCTAD's World Investment Report 2018 revealed that over the past decade, more than 110 countries around the world had adopted new industrial policies. Modern industrial policies are increasingly diverse and complex. They aim to address new themes which are relevant for science parks and areas of innovation, such as global value chain integration and upgrading, development of the knowledge economy, build up of sectors linked to sustainable development goals, and competitive positions for the new industrial revolution. So the report shows that SEZ continue to proliferate and diversify. And in most countries, the transition from pure export processing zone to value-added zones continues, and the new types of zones are still emerging. High-tech zones or industrial parks are also becoming a key tool in new industrial revolution-driven industrial policies. So investment policy choices should be guided by these design criteria and by the need for policy coherence, flexibility, and effectiveness. Industrial and science parks were also part of the extensive analysis of SEZ presented in our World Investment Report 2019. We discussed the several directions that SEZ were traveling because of emerging trends. The knowledge economy has brought about new types of markets, companies, and the new kinds of workers. These new companies, the new workers require in turn, new types of spaces, which are very different from the typical industrial zones. So there is a high degree of diversity in the nature, functions, ownership, and governance of science parks and clusters. Science parks may vary significantly from places to place, but they all have 4 main pillars in common. They focus strongly on technology and innovation. A substantial part of their activities relates to promoting the flows and the transfer of technology and knowledge. They pay special attention to entrepreneurship and startups, and they filter the type of companies that can locate in these areas. An important characteristic of these specialized clusters is to foster collaboration between the national research system and firms in order to stimulate innovation based on research and development. Science parks and special areas of innovation can play a critical role in close collaboration to link between firms, research organizations, and governments. Inter-firm collaboration is also important in practice, particularly between small and large firms and between enterprise operating in a common value chain with fragmented production. Science parks have proliferated widely across the world, but they tend to be located in developed countries. With a few exceptions, and science and technology parks are first developed in more economically and technologically advanced areas and countries. But recently, many developing countries have begun to adopt and develop these zones. To achieve such an outcome, policymakers should aim to develop a strong innovation system characterized by the dense and highly integrated network with strong collaborative linkages and active transfer of technology and know-how. Articulating the right investment, ownership, and governance models is an indispensable condition for these important projects to succeed. So despite the clear benefits, there are some critical issues and questions that we should consider, and I look forward to elucidating among the panelists and experts on these issues at this session. So the issues are: science parks are on the wish list of many countries, but not appropriate in all contexts. How can developing countries at the lower stages of the technology ladder benefit from it? Another question: what are some lessons learned from the design and operation of successful science parks that can be replicated and that can help developing countries? Still another question: what are some good investment policy practices to attract international investors in science parks? I'm sure that this event and synergies created across various stakeholders and initiatives launched at World Investment Forum and this week will lead to a win-win situation for all stakeholders. In this context, UNCTAD's work program is strongly committed to supporting member states in their efforts to promote SEZ, including science parks and areas of innovation, and as a policy tool for achieving a broad sustainable development goals. I wish to thank the ABA and also my colleague Iman for organizing this important event. Thank you. Jacobo, back to you.
Thank you, James. Thank you for this introductory remarks and for setting the scene for the discussion that will follow. And also for this important inputs that you shared in terms of research. This is such a wide and diverse phenomenon, And it's important also to pin down some references, and definitely thank that and throughout your research process you have done so in the past few years. Next, we have Ms. Ebba Land, who is the head of the IASP, as I mentioned at the beginning, the International Association of Science Parks and Areas of Innovation. So Ms. Land, the floor is yours for your introductory remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dettoni. Dear Mr. San, dear authorities, ladies and gentlemen and friends, the ISP is truly delighted to be with you all here today at the 7th World Investment Forum. It also was a great honor for the ISP to be asked to organize this session in partnership with UNCTAD to have this opportunity to collaborate more closely and also to showcase what global innovation communities are doing to advance sustainable economic development in a huge range of different local contexts. And first of all, for those of you who may not know us, let me briefly introduce the IASP, the International Association of Science Parks and Areas of Innovation. The ISP is currently the world's largest international association for these projects, and also a founding member of the World Alliance for Innovation, WINOVA. At present, our association has over 300 members in 75 countries, representing also 115,000 high-tech companies around the world. And we basically connect the science park managers, the managers of the innovation campuses from around the world, to support them to promote sustainable economic development. And we do that from our world headquarters in Malaga in Spain, and also from our branch office in Beijing in China. And today's session on investing in innovation-based development, it aims really to give you some insights into science and technology parks, areas of innovation, innovation campuses, etc. So different names and labels that we give to these specialized projects that in a broad sense can also be considered one kind of special economic zone. And the science and technology parks, they have really known a phenomenal success since the mid of the past century, offering quality space, infrastructure, value-added services to innovative companies. And they also place really a special emphasis in encouraging networking, connecting universities, research labs and the like with businesses who can then apply their knowledge and technology, creating a win-win situation that has a direct impact also on the broader economic environments where they are located. And in this session today, ISP members and representatives, they will present the key concepts of science parks, what they do, starting with an opening talk by McLean Sibanda, and then also detailed case studies of two projects at different stages of development, and also with different governance and ownership models. So we are there seeing two ISP members working and operating in very different contexts of Here East in the UK and also Consa Technopolis in Kenya. Then we'll also hear a panel discussion featuring science parks, areas of innovation from China, Sweden, India, Brazil, and Italy, including our international president, Herbert Chen, where we will see members really highlighting a few of their own best practices and also governance models, exploring themes including how the science parks can be tools for development on a global scale. Their focus also on sustainability, as well as the investment opportunities that they also represent. And in this context, I'm also just pleased to share with you and mention that the ISP also devoted our full 2018 World Conference to precisely discuss also the UN SDGs and how our industry and science parks, areas of innovation can help contributing to meet these goals. So that's all from my side. Thank you again to our colleagues at UNCTAD for this opportunity to share our insights with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lan, and thank you for sharing the experience of IASP in bringing together this ever-growing community of science parks scattered scattered around the globe. You have already mentioned one of our next speaker, who is Mr. McLean Sibanda, the Managing Director of engineering company BGen Global. I believe Mr. Sibanda is connecting from Johannesburg in South Africa. So without further ado, Mr. Sibanda, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jacopo, and also thanks, Mr. Zen, for the introduction, and Eba. So I think good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on which part of the world you're joining us. And it's a pleasure to really speak on this particular forum, and the focus being on science parks, which, as Mr. Zen and Eba has also explained, economic constructs. And these entities that are managed by teams of professionals to ensure that there's contribution to regional economic growth, there's competitiveness to the firms that are located within these science parks and areas of innovation, but also there's a wealth that is created for the communities. And I'd like to think of science parks as catalysts. And I think in chemistry, catalysts participate in a reaction, but do not get consumed. And in essence, that's a very important role of science parks, because they work within an ecosystem to make sure that the ecosystem functions. So as intermediaries, they're able to mediate between government, industry, civil society, higher education institutions, as well as entrepreneurs. As we've heard also from Mr. Zen, a critical component of science parks is around technology and innovation. It's around the flow of knowledge from knowledge generation institutions, the universities, the research institutes, moving that knowledge through to private sector where value can be derived. The other role is, in essence, in terms of startup creation and incubation, and supporting these small businesses to ensure that they survive the critical gap or the critical phase for them to become sustainable. And so what are these science and technology parks? We've also heard in terms of infrastructure. And quite often, when we talk about science parks, many people, the first thing that comes to mind is the infrastructure. And here, I must caution in terms of build it and they will come. So the early generation of science parks were large infrastructure projects. But I think we're seeing new models of science parks. And some of these science parks have been established on old cities. If you look at Recife in Brazil, this is a science park that has been established on what in essence was a declining economic activity, and they were able to, in essence, repurpose the buildings. Again, what we've heard quite recently and seen is also areas of innovation, where districts, in essence, are becoming areas where innovation happens because the culture changes. There is actually an ecosystem that is actually developing as well. There's another role for science parks, and I think in the advent of 4IR and the fourth industrial revolution, it's a critical role that science parks are actually playing in terms of skills development and also putting up the infrastructure for science or knowledge-based startups to be able to experiment. Now, innovation is something that happens through a community. It's something that requires a whole range of skills. And in essence, what science parks in essence provide also is a community where entrepreneurs and large established businesses can come together, they can be able to network and find better ways of moving forward. Access to funding and access to market quite often are the difference between success and failure in innovation. And that is a critical role as well. Those are critical roles that Science Park actually play because they are catalysts they're able to develop the good relationships with funders, as well as good relationships with industry to make sure that any knowledge that is developed moves through to the market. One of the important things around, for example, in associations such as the ISP is internationalization. And today, with globalization, and most of our borders, in essence, are borderless. And so science parks play a critical role, particularly when they are part of an association such as the ISP, where during my time as the CEO of the Innovation Hub, we could, in essence, network with other science parks in Brazil, in China, and be able to facilitate transactions between our own startups and the startups in those particular countries. So that's actually another important area. I think for investors, science parks are a great area to invest in. So there are investment areas. You can invest in the infrastructure development. One could also invest in terms of the innovation that's taking place in these science parks. One could also invest in terms of scaling up of some of the companies that are participating in the ecosystem. So just to conclude, is to say that science parks, some of the science parks are within a special economic zone. So it's not that all science parks are special economic zones. And I think later when John Tanui actually talks about Konza, Konza is an interesting one where it is in essence a special economic zone, but within the special economic zone, there is actually a science and technology park. But I think quite importantly, is building this ecosystem of different players, knowledge players, universities, industry, and government. And so with that, I'd like to then hand it back to the moderator, and thank you very much.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much to you, Mrs. Banda, for this important remarks. I'm particularly interested in this role that science parks can play in connecting entrepreneurs to the market, in aligning the features of the services or goods developed within science parks to the demands of the market, and also in the role of an association like IASP in connecting startups in different countries. Very interesting to hear about your experience in connecting South African startups with startups in China or Brazil. So thanks again. I believe that now we have a video to play. So please, production, if you can please play the video. Thank you. Thank you again to IASP for this video. Science Parks, as we have just seen, not only great places to develop innovation, but fantastic examples of architecture. And I personally experienced a few of those, and it brought me back memories of, for example, Ruta N in Medellin or Kilometer Rosso in Italy. So thank you also for this video. And now is the time to dig a bit deeper and hear more in detail about the experience of two science parks, one in London, UK, and the other one in Konza, Kenya. And also in this case, I'm happy to hear more about these two parks that, for different reasons, I was personally involved in covering and writing about them. So let me first introduce Mr. Gavin Poo, who is the CEO of Here East, an innovation and technology campus in East London. I believe Mr. Poo has a presentation. So Mr. Poo, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you for the previous speakers. You'll hear as we go through this presentation, I want to sort of unpack what Here East is about and how we've set about building our own innovation campus, areas of innovation, innovative ecosystem, whatever language you'd like to call. But also, I ask you to keep thinking back to what McLean Sibanda was talking about. Because I was sat here chuckling to myself and marking on my sort of hard copy slides going, McLean's covered that, McLean's covered that. So it doesn't matter where we are around the world, what we keep on finding is that even if we haven't been in dialogue with each other before, many of us are doing things and working it out and coming up with a similar solution and learning similar things, which I think is one of the benefits of organizations such as IASP, where we can actually get together in better times pre-pandemic, where we can share our ideas and formally sort of network and really understand the power of international collaboration, not just collaboration across our own ecosystems. So you see on the image in front of you, one of the buildings which makes up Here East. We've been doing this now for 10 years. So this was a project which was born out of London 2012. We wrote a bid to win the right to take on 3 buildings on the Olympic Park, which are these 3 buildings here with the Here East on the roof, the building in between, and the smaller office on the side. Together, they create over 1 million square feet of space. It was home for all the journalists and the TV stations during London 2012. But we put forward a proposal where we would turn it into London's largest innovation campus, if not the largest in the UK, where we would bring together what we call the big and the small, the global giants in the startup and scale-up community, and bring them together where we can experiment, look at collaborations, seek new opportunities, and grow new products. And our mission was literally to build the UK's largest campus dedicated to innovation, which is a bold statement when you think about some of the organizations which already exist in the UK. The images here, and again, it comes back to build it, they will come, or repurpose. So this is very much a repurposing. On the slides on the left show you the buildings in its full glory with the hockey next door during London 2012, or build up to London 2012 when the Olympics were in town. To the bottom left-hand side, to what you see is what we inherited when we finally stood up the business and signed all of our agreements with London in May of 2013. And we have over a 200-year lease on this. So we, in fact, own this site, but on a leasehold arrangement. And on the right-hand side shows you what you can achieve with over £160 million invested into a site. Completely repurposed, transformed. The larger building's got new floors within it, still got dark studio space, but we've got areas and spaces for all different types of organizations, academic institutions, robotics institutes, automotive and future mobility design teams, the fashion industry, the music industry, everybody who's basically working through new technology solutions, which are permeating through all aspects of society. And I'll come to some of those towards the back end of this very quick overview. So I'd like to point out, as we've just shown, that Here East was born out of buildings. Our purpose was to utilize the power of real estate and to create what we called a super campus. There were small buildings, there were small innovation centers, there was co-working spaces, there was university spin-out environments all across the capital and across the UK. But we wanted to create what was called a super campus, where we started to bring all of that together. And for us, it was using real estate as a real vehicle to be able to bring these businesses together. We've basically curated a number of organizations across the globe here to say that real estate, friend or foe. Are you just leasing space short term to do it, or are you the landowner? At which point you can take a long-term view, which will give you some short-term benefits, particularly when you're looking at new emergent technologies, new startup businesses who may not have the capital required, but that's fine. We can take a view on terms of leases, our investments, and so on, by using the value created across the wider Here East real estate play. But this is where McLean really focused on. It's a community. And it's not just a community of people who come here, work here, study here, innovate, research, produce. It's also the community around us as well. We always say there's three things which enable us to build an area of innovation. The first one, clearly, it's the capital. So we need good long-term investment to allow us to do the £160 million plus investment into this. So we need the capital. We also need political buy-in, whether it's locally, citywide, nationally, to support what we're doing. And again, that'll come out a bit later on. But we also need the buy-in of the community. We need the wider community within which we sit to really support what we do and embrace us. And we do that through many ways of inviting that community in, but it also means by inviting our community, the one that we've created within our innovation district, to engage outwards as well. And think about the opportunity that delivers into the wider local community. And our responsibility as the global businesses all look towards ESG, which has connotations all over the world, but the environmental impact of repurposing buildings, keeping all locked in carbon, driving efficiency through the way that we use these buildings. But it's the S, it's the social component, which I think really drives social value and social capital in the areas around you, but also develops the latent talent around you to feed into those businesses which are going to be creating or delivering innovation in the future. And that's really important. But then internally, for us, taking a long-term view is about who do we invite in and who do we accept into our area of innovation. We've said no to companies joining Here East because we just didn't think they were going to participate, collaborate, and drive innovation practices through their business with their teams and their staff and participate within the wider Here East vision. And that's a bold position to take, particularly with investors sat alongside saying, we've turned down this £1 million a year rent because we don't think that business is right for Here East. But the owners are on the journey with us, and they understand that these type of decisions bear fruit long term in terms of value. But it also means that the type of businesses we get here are more likely to grow. And that's something, if you get that right, or we can keep on seeing across all of the businesses and universities on campus, is their rapid appetite to grow, take more space, expand, user innovation center, go again. I think this point about a movement is really important. We've got businesses which came here, 2 founders, a few £100,000 to get the business going, develop prototypes, minimum viable products, and have since developed out, turned themselves into a fully fledged, high revenue producing business and have flown. They've gone. Some stay at Here East, some have gone to the US, some have moved further afield. Some have stayed at Here East and have gone to the US. But what it means is they always look back fondly at the area which supported their growth, which worked in collaboration. And particularly from my role and the team of the management team that I've got here, it's for us to solve their real estate needs even before they realize they have a need. So we're already preempting because of our work, deep-rooted work and understanding their business and the growth of their business. So we say it's a movement that people are very, very fond of their origins and their history and patronage. And I think that's reflected in the type of businesses who stay with us. right at the heart of our vision to drive this innovation growth and this campus growth, and this, then it permeates out through the community and across the whole of the Olympic Park and East London, is our innovation centre. It was too important. I think many people around the world also have found this through our own discussions through the ISP network, is giving this over to someone to come in, let them have some space and develop their own innovation centre, means that we don't have a fully aligned interest. So what we did with my colleague who wrote the whole vision for Here East alongside me, what Andrew has done is we set up another company within the umbrella of Here East, the sister company, which is our innovation centre, 68,000 square foot space, a room for about 1,000 members within that, home to over 132 businesses now at various stages of their start and scaling journey. And that's really, really important because we call it the beating heart of our campus. It sits in the middle, but we've had companies now, again, start here, grow from 2 or 3 founders, 60 plus now employees. They've moved out. We've given them some space for free to experiment, create their studio. And now they've taken on a longer lease and they're anchored in at Here East. One's gone into Paris, the other one has gone into Los Angeles. So there's lots of development here that comes out of our own innovation center. So a very quick introduction to our innovation center. It's called Plexel. And there's 2 components to it. The first one is the workspace. So everybody walks in, they think, oh, look, it's a lot of steel, a lot of glass. It looks like a WeWork. That's about where the similarity stops. So again, very, very selective what we do. We have key verticals, what we're looking at. We have those who are starting out, those who are on their scaling journey, those which are social enterprise working in the wider community and providing a service into the local community through innovation as well. But we also have large global businesses like Ford, Sega, many other, Lloyds, IBM, Amazon, all in there as well. Either because they want to get near the scale in startups, or it's because we're running programs. The programs sit within the innovation side of Plexel. And we very much focused around government-led innovation. We see this as a real opportunity to look at the government strategy of the day and see if we can help solve that industrial repositioning of the country. And of course, we've had Brexit to grapple with, we've got the pandemic to grapple with. So a lot of innovation coming out of the government where we can say, okay, we can solve some of those by working with the startup community, which we build in, but also working as someone who sits between large-scale enterprise who probably aren't as agile or thinking about this on a daily basis like we are. And then we link them up and develop programs which satisfy the need of the government and developing capability, but also satisfies the need of enterprise who are looking for innovative solutions to tackle some of the issues of today. And if we focus on one area where we've got a vertical, cyber, we've got mobility, we've got inclusive innovation around disability, we've got community programs, we've got space programs. If I just focus on cyber for now, it gives you an idea. Our flagship program, Lorca, over 72 companies now graduated, over 200 million of equity raised, created over 865 jobs through them. We're now running the best of the best program, where we can accelerate 10 companies and see who we can create £1 billion, a unicorn business out of our cyber businesses. We're also looking at how can we accelerate further 160 businesses through Cyber Runway with everything that we've learned. We're working closely with our own government now, and we're starting, because of our successes delivering the cyber programs, working with our own security services, GCHQ, Cheltenham, and our National Cyber Security Centre. And you can start to see that this develops this deep-rooted trust for the government who are funding some of this focused activity. And this is predicated on academic thesis through Mazakutu and her entrepreneurial state work, which she did. But it also lends itself nicely to the international enterprise scale businesses as well. And I think what's really important is to think through this key bit down the bottom here, the international collaborations. Yes, we can focus on sovereign capability and look at where we've got gaps and try and plug them. But I think what we're very good at is working across international borders and working collaboratively, whether it's with the team over in Factory Berlin, whether it's the teams over in Capital Factory over in Austin, Texas, and everything in between. We have a huge amount of collaborations which we like to work with, leverage, be able to provide homes for people with that, who come to London, or for businesses growing out of Here East elsewhere across the world. I think one key area which many people observing will always say innovation is all about startups. And I would counsel that's not. Some of our most innovative programs come through a range of initiatives with the global businesses who've got small teams based with us, who are being inspired by the startup community, but not necessarily are the startup community. My final point,
Paul, if you can wrap up.
My final point would be innovation takes on many forms. It takes on the robotics that you see on the right-hand side, but blend robotics and virtual reality with dancing, with the world-leading choreographer we have on site, working with local children with disabilities to try and solve some of the issues they have about being disabled in a non-disabled world. All of these things come together in a very rich creative mix, and that's what builds a really robust innovation campus and innovation district in your area.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Poole, for sharing the experience of Here East, a place that I know well, not just because it's just a stone's throw away from my own place, but also I reported a few years ago on the development, specifically in the cybersecurity area of the campus. And I find it fascinating, this trajectory from being part of the Olympic Village, the media center of the Olympic Village being transitioning towards becoming a heart, a core, a pulsing heart of innovation in East London. And it's definitely a business case, not only for the development of science park, but also for this kind of like grand vision of developing infrastructure during events like Olympics that can have a longer lasting lifetime. So thanks again for sharing your experience. And now on to another part that is close to my heart in a way, because I remember back in 2008 writing one of my first stories about the Silicon Savannah vision unfolding or being proposed at the time in Kenya, particularly in the location of Konza. And today with us, we have Mr. John Tanui, who is the CEO of Konza Technopolis. So, Mr. Tanui, I'm really looking forward to hearing about the latest developments that have happened in Konza in these past few years. Mr. Tanui, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jacopo Tetroni, and it's good to know you are connected to this project at its infancy stage. That's at 2008, when the country was conceptualizing this project, among others. First, I want to really appreciate the opportunity to speak today with the fellow panelists in this 7th World Investment Forum. I want to appreciate the collaboration between UNCTAD and the ISP, which has made this possible, so that we can share some of these great models that's happening even in developing countries like Kenya and the rest of Africa. There are a lot of global efforts to advance and enhance economic developments across the world. There is a lot of initiatives for economic transformations taking place and attracting investment, which is a key focus of today's discussion. Africa is not left behind and really taking a lot of efforts to really address some of its challenges and see it really leapfrogged and take advantage of technology, science technology parks and innovation to drive economic development. So we've seen a lot of efforts across several countries in Africa, establishment of special economic zones as elaborated by earlier speakers, including McLean, also EPA mentioned. So there's a lot of efforts towards establishment of a special economic zones, smart cities, science technology parks, and even establishment of new urban establishment, or what we call the urban development. I will share today specifically about the Konza Technopolis project, but I want to mention we work collaboratively with several other science parks across Africa, and really all really represents an idea in which Africa wants to transform and be part of the world engagement in science, technology, and innovation. We want to see the growth of knowledge-based economy, and Kenya early around 2008, embarked on a program to transform the entire country, and through a development blueprint called the Vision 2030. This development program identified 3 key pillars in which the country was to undertake. One was to address the issue of the political aspects, in which a new economy was established in 2010, and several other programs in the economic, in the political side. Also, there were social programs under the social pillar, and the third one is the economic transformation through the economic pillar. Several projects were identified, and one of the flagship projects identified was Concert Technopolis Development Concert Technopolis project. And Concert Technopolis has been established with a vision to be part of the global Technopolis and innovation hubs, and with a vision to transform the country and contribute to the country's knowledge economy. The project is at about 60 kilometers away from Nairobi, on a 5,000 acres of land, which is owned by the Kenyan government. So it's a public sector project, but with a strong inclination to work with the private sector, as the government's role is envisioned to be about 10%, and the rest of it would be contributed by the private sector. And given the challenges which Africa is facing of urbanization, one of the challenges we saw is this huge investment in Science Park, special economic zone, a smart city would attract unplanned development. The government this year set aside the entire space surrounding Konza, 10 kilometers, what we call 10 kilometers buffer zone, bringing additional 68,000 acres of land under controlled development. So in addition to Konza's 5,000 acres, we now have a total of 73,000 acres of land to be under a controlled development. So this is a strong indication of the efforts the Kenyan government is putting in its own economic development plan and utilizing a Science Park to achieve this. And the Concert Technopolis strategic plan has identified 3 key clusters in which we are focused on. And one, the first one is ICT and ITS, that's IT-enabled services. So this cluster is one area we see the country being good at, and is one of the clusters we envision to use to drive Concert Technopolis and the country to the next level in knowledge economy. The second one is life sciences, and the third one is engineering. And in each of these clusters, we have 3 main activities that we want to use to transform these clusters. One is R&D, that's to ensure there is research and development and innovation activities in each of the 3 clusters. Educational institutions, to ensure we have STEM-focused institutions from all the levels of education training, focus at channeling the right talents to drive the new transformation that is required. We also want to attract, as the third driving force is the attraction of various kinds of commercial enterprises, from SMEs, startups, national companies, and also multinationals. And this is what will now create the stream of the Kenya and Concert Technopolis contributing to the knowledge economy. So we have set up a location, and this location, as mentioned, looks at addressing several aspects, it being a special economic zone, a smart city, and STP. As a smart city, we would like it to be driven by ICT so that the services are efficient and effective, to ensure that the city provides the right innovation ecosystem that can be utilized by innovators, and also to support the businesses within the Concert Technopolis. And with this, the government has located a digital platform. That's the National Data Center, which is already completed and operational at Concert Technopolis. and it's currently offering services to the public sector, that's the government, and it's a cloud-based with both public and private sector clusters, which is now driving us, and we are aiming to achieve higher standards in terms of indexes for smart cities and to see a lot of applications in respect to city management, city services, all logistics and other services being supported by this digital platform. Also, as a science park, the country established what we call a 10-year framework of science parks in Kenya, which identified 2 science parks within the country, and one within Konza Technopolis, and another as a pilot in another location in a university called Dedan Kimathi University of Science and Technology. It also identified about 10 other science parks to be developed in the next 10 years, in which the country is embarking on. So the awareness and the intention of the Kenyan government to use science parks for economic transformation is very clear. And also being members of the International Association of Science Parks has given us also an opportunity to work closely with our peers across Africa. We have the African division of science parks, bringing all the science parks in Africa from Nigeria, Botswana, South Africa, Kenya, and many others, has given us a platform to exchange ideas as part of the developing countries and also link to the entire family of the science parks as highlighted by Epa in our presentation. And it's quite exciting to be part of such a great family, which is making a very special contribution through science and technology towards the transformation of our economies. We have also been registered as a special economic zone. The country put up a legislative framework to enable the country advance and improve on its special economic zone arrangement. In 2015, a new Act of Parliament was passed called the Special Economic Zones Act of 2015. And this provided a process of registering new special economic zones location and providing them with the necessary incentives to attract investments to serve both region and the global market. And also it comes timely with the coming up of Africa Free Trade Zone area. So Konza Technopolis is already a gazetted special economic zones location. We are also registered as a special economic zones, and we have also ensured we comply with unique standards to be a green standard location so that we attract investments that in line with our focus areas. So it's quite a unique arrangement in that we are not just a science technology park, but we are also a special economic zones. And we are working closely with other free zones across the world. We are members of what we call World Free Trade Association. And also we're working closely with other free zones like Dubai Multi-Commodities Center, which is one of the world's top leading free zones. And this gives us to combine the advantages of a science park and a free zone. And also it makes it easier for enterprises to locate at Konza, both for their commercial and also for their innovation or research functions. We've been able to combine the development of a new urban center where we are looking at putting up both residential, office, city amenities, and also ensure we have a driver for research and innovation. We collaborating with some of the top leading institutions in academic research. One is Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, who we procured to be our consultant to establish a research institute currently under construction at Konza Technopolis. We are putting up a 135 million facility to be—
Mr. Tanoi, sorry to interrupt you. If you can please wrap up. We're running out of time, yeah.
Good, I'm finalizing so that it can be one of the regions to drive the innovation ecosystem. So currently this is at a construction stage. We are also putting up other systems to ensure the economic aspect and take advantage of the country's youthful population to drive the economy, both on the innovation and the creative industry. And we are putting up what we call the Digital Media City to bring the aspects of animation, gaming, film industry. And so Consa Technopolis is also pushing that aspect. We have various investment opportunities.
We really have to wrap up. Sorry, if you want to, you've got 30 seconds left. Otherwise, we don't have any time left for the panel that follows.
Okay,
Thank
Jacopo.
you.
So I'm closing now, and we're focusing working with our colleagues in the science parks and the innovation ecosystem within the country to ensure we drive this agenda forward. So with that, that is a brief on Consa Technopolis as an enabler for knowledge economy in Kenya.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Tanui, for this overview of what you're doing there in Consa Technopolis and at the national level. Pretty impressive to hear the government intention to develop 10 science parks in the next 10 years. So I'm looking forward to seeing developments on that front too. But without further ado, let me now pass the mic to Ms. Lena Miranda from the Linköping Science Park in Sweden, who will be moderating the next panel discussion. Ms. Miranda.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tettoni, and thank you, Mr. Sam, for hosting this session and doing it with the IASP. I'm Lena Miranda, I'm the moderator of this session, and as you mentioned, I'm from Linköping Science Park in Sweden, and our science park has been operating for more than almost 4 decades, and we are consisting of 500 companies and more than 7,000 employees, and having about 200,000 square meters in our science park, just to give you a reference. Today's session will cover the governance models of science and technology parks, as well as areas of innovation. We will also talk a little bit about investment opportunities, as well as value creation that our members can offer. And as you heard earlier speakers mention, we are quite different over the globe, but we also unite in a number of denominators, like we work with technology and innovation, we work with tech and knowledge transfer in triple helix constellations with the academia, business, and society. We also have a lot of value-added services that we can provide, like incubation, acceleration, open innovation and transformation, talent attraction. And I would also like to stress that we are driving a lot of change. We also select the tenants that move into our different areas. And we will, in this session, share some best practices and tools and value-added services that our members provide, as well as discuss governance models, funding models, and investment opportunities. And I'm delighted to present the panel speakers for this session. We have Mr. Herbert Chen, Senior COO of TAS Park in Beijing, China. We have Roberto Marelli, Development Director at Chilometro Rosso Innovation District in Italy. And we have Jepanvita Chattopadhyay, Chairman and CEO of IKP Knowledge Park in India. And also Leonardo Pompermeyer, who is the Relation and Business Manager of Tecnopuc in Brazil. So welcome everyone. And let's start off with sharing some best practices and present your different science parks. And let's start with you, Herbert, in Beijing.
Yes, thank you very much, Lina. And hello, everyone. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to join this World Investment Forum. As you say, I come from University Science Park, Beijing, China. This is a very big university science park in China. It's originally developed by the Tsinghua University, which is very famous in China. It's a very big university. And we start developing this science park since 1994. Now we have a totally 770,000 square meters, and we have more than 1,000 companies, including 600 small, media, high technology company working in a science park. As you see from the previous presentation, we're providing comprehensive innovative service to our tenants by collecting the resource from government, from university, from industrial, from financial side. We are not only running one science park in Beijing, actually we are setting up the innovation network all over the China, including more than 200 TASTA incubators, more than 10 science parks, and more than 10 science cities. Not only in China, but also we set up some innovation base in the other country, like UK and Italy, and Egypt, and Malaysia, Thailand, and United States and Canada. We have been the member of IASP for more than 17 years. I think the IASP is a big network providing us a lot of resource for the successful international cooperation of the TAS Park. Welcome everyone. When you have a chance after the pandemic, come to Beijing to visit us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Herbert. And let's move over to India. Depanvita, could you share some presentation of your park?
Thank you, Lena. This is a fantastic opportunity for all of us to share among ourselves and with the audience what ISP is doing in terms of STPs and areas of innovation, AOIs. We are not really SEZs, but we are SEZ plus. And what Herbert mentioned about what his park is doing in China, I would give a perspective from India. So we are a 20-plus-year-old science park in Genome Valley. The area is called Genome Valley, Hyderabad. It's in the southern part of India. It's a pharmaceutical base. It's a vaccines capital of India and also agri-seeds capital, which means it's a life sciences innovation base. And that's why a bank, a private bank, ICICI Bank, selected this to set up a science park. Not many examples of banks setting up STPs globally, but yes, I'm proud to say ICICI did, and I moved from ICICI to head this. So it's a 200-acre campus, about 1/10 the size of what Herbert is doing. That's what is the flavor that each country brings in, and that's what the network of ISP is. So we are a not-for-profit. It's structured as a not-for-profit with a great, strong governance model because we come from a finance background. Our focus is pharma, bio, agri, environment. We have incubators in Bangalore and other towns. We have small offices in Delhi and Calcutta. Our anchor companies like DuPont, US Pharmacopoeia, Adama, FMC. We have large Indian SMCs becoming multinational companies like Matrix Laboratories, GVK Bio, Laurus Labs, and so on. So around 750 plus startups and MSMEs like micro, small, and medium enterprises and large companies. That's what Genome Valley, that's what IKP provides. And Genome Valley has about 300 companies. So we are located in a business and industrial location as a science park. So we can talk about it more, but let's hear others. Thanks, Lena.
Thank you so much. And let's fly over to Brazil and Leonardo.
It's Leandro.
Leandro, sorry.
Oh, no problem. It's almost Leonardo. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here and share some information about Brazil. I'm manager in Tecnopuc, a tech park in Brazil, located in south of Brazil, in a city called Porto Alegre, like a happy harbor. You know that Brazil has the Carnival, soccer, Rio de Janeiro, Amazon rainforest, but there's life in another place in Brazil, and they are located in very close to Argentina, Uruguay, and you belongs to the private university. a Catholic university in South Brazil, and you have a very huge park in the terms of numbers in Brazil. Of course, it's not India or China, but in Brazil, you have more than 178 companies, organizations, more than 90 startups. Just to know, in the first 15 years of the park, you are focused on working with big companies, working together with the university, like you connect Dell, AGP, Microsoft, other big companies, Brazilian big companies, with our research groups in our university. And from 2018, you change our focus. Of course, we're still working with big companies, but now you think that you can transfer the knowledge that you create in our university through the startup. So you have the intention to help more than 1,000 new companies in the next 10 years here in the south of Brazil, working with the new concepts, creating hubs with partnerships with accelerators and VCs and other companies, and also with, we believe, I saw that the video that you played before, and you have very beautiful buildings, like that one that you have behind me. But you know that innovation and entrepreneurship happens everywhere. So you're working on a concept that the Technopuc is not just the buildings. The Technopuc, it's a concept, it's a methodology that you can help the entrepreneur and the innovators around the world using the concept, the Technopuc, anywhere. So you can talk more about this later, but you are very excited to exchange some experience here and learn from the others and help others around the world. So thank you so much, and back to you, Lena.
Thank you, Leandro. Sorry, I will get it right next time. Thank you so much. And let's move over to Roberto in Italy, Chilometro Rosso.
Thank you, Lena, and I would like to thank Ebba and of course Mr. Zan for inviting Chilometro Rosso to this virtual table. What is Chilometro Rosso? Chilometro Rosso is it's a science and technology park, but it's 100% private. It has been conceived about 15 years ago, a little bit more, by an entrepreneur, a private entrepreneur, which is still financing this project. And his idea at the beginning was to support the local economy through innovation and through bringing new technological ideas. Now, after more than 10 years that we are working hard, it's a 40 hectares campus with more than 100,000 square meters of offices and labs, common areas, very important for making a community. And we have more than 2,000 people, 2,000 researchers and staff coming every day in our campus to work. They are spread around 70 companies and organizations, research centers, mainly small and medium companies or large corporations. That is our kind of, let's say, client, I would say. But more important, we have more than 15,000 people coming every year to attend our workshops, our events, and our, let's say, initiatives to aggregate people and to promote the dissemination of knowledge. And in terms of our areas of focus, we are located close to Milano, in the northern part of Italy. Actually, we are in Bergamo. It's 50 kilometers from Milano, but we are in an industrial environment and manufacturing environment. And the competencies that we really work on are on robotics, digitalization, additive manufacturing, additive manufacturing, I said, artificial intelligence, IoT, but we have as well life science activities. We work a lot on materials. And so we are kind of a generalistic project, which is now focusing on more specific areas thanks to the companies that are choosing to open their labs or their activities within our campus. I would say from the initial idea of a give back of our entrepreneur to the local economy, now we can say that we are a technology transfer agent and we are an accelerator of innovation at national and international level. And after this period of work, these 10 years of work, from being 100% private, now with the critical mass that we managed to create, now we are happy to say that we are attracting even public investments, like public partners, public research institutes are now opening their labs within Chilometro Rosso. They are, let's say, knocking on our doors and say, can we open our labs, our joint labs within your premises? Or, for example, lately we managed to have a 20 million euros financing of a venture capital fund, public venture capital fund, within one of our initiatives of investments in robotics and cybersecurity. So thus being fully private, we are now working with the public investment partners here in Italy and at the international level as well. So this is one thing that I would like to bring to the table, that even if an initiative like ours, which started, as I said, from an entrepreneur, can be able after a while to attract public investments. So normally it's the public that attracts private investments. We did it the other way around, and it's working very well right now.
Thank you so much. That's really interesting to hear, and let's explore it further later. So what I can conclude is that even if we in some ways differ, we also have a lot in common, and it's a lot about fostering startups and innovative SMEs. It's linking us to both regional but also international innovation ecosystem. And you put it beautifully there also, Leandro. It's not just about beautiful buildings, but it's the concepts and the methodology that we bring to the table to foster new companies. And let's talk about the value-added services and the tools for investment and development. What can we actually offer the investors? And let's start with you again, Herbert. Why should we invest in TUS Park?
Thank you very much. Yes, I think the investors, they want to put money in a great potential area. So some people want to invest for the infrastructure, maybe value increase in the future. But some investors want to put in money in some companies who have a potential in the next 5 or 10 years. So I think Science Technology Park is a great platform, and also it's a very valued tool for the investors. I have about 4 reasons. The first one, I think when you want to put money somewhere, you have to do the selection process, right? You have to select some good company from many, many other companies. So the science park do the selections. For instance, if someone want to come to the TUS Park, we have a committee to do the group interview, where we will evaluate not only for the technology, products, and we also evaluate the team. Okay, who will be the CEO, who will be the COO, who will be the CTO. You look right today, but if the people is not right, there will be serious problem by next 3 or 5 years. If this is the case, we will say, sorry, you go back, reconstruct your company, the shareholder structures, and then come back again. So we do the pre-selections for the investors. Number 2 is that when you put some money in the company, you are not go away. You want to support them to grow up quickly. So Science Park do exactly the same work. We are attracting the company to come to the Science Park, and then we providing daily service by collecting the resource from the government, from the university, from the financial side, from the industrial, from the research institute. We connect everywhere when the tenants is demand. So we help you to support invested company. Number 3, we are supporting the company by put on the value added value on the branding. You know, sometimes the small company have good products, have good technologies, but no one trusts them. If you are the buyer, you want to buy something already very famous, okay? There's no risk. You buy the one, very famous brand name, no problem. But if you're purchasing from a nobody knows small company, even the product is very good, but you have the risk. So the science park, especially the very famous science park like TAS Park in China, if we support some unknown, not famous small companies, then the buyer will trust us. So many companies in our science park we are working in the Tsinghua University Science Park. We are resident in the TAS Park. They put that in the name card. So to become a value-added branding support. And the number 4 is also very important. We are not only support your already invested company, we put our money in, okay? So we select many companies, we think this is very big potential, we will put our money in. So we will occupy, say, 5 or 10% of the share. So if TAS Park to do that, many investors will follow. They will follow. They don't ask many questions. They only ask one question, say, has the TAS Park put money in or not? If we say yes, then they will put double and triple money in. They don't ask many questions. So I think that is the answer, the basic idea, how valued for the investors come to the science park. You can invest to the company, and also you can invest directly to the platform on the science park. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That are really interesting, those 4 different reasons to invest in science parks. And there are more, Depanvita. For instance, if you invest in India, you invest in the globe, right? Could you explore a little bit about your thoughts?
Thanks, Lena. I'll take from where Herbert left. And so basically, science parks provide the trust that investors need when they're coming to a new country. If you're already kind of glued to the economy and the investment scene, that's a different ball game. But if you're coming for investment in a new country or a new location, you need somebody that you can trust. So science parks provide that platform which investors can trust. So what you get is you get access to companies, new companies. And as Herbert mentioned, we do the initial due diligence and we put in a small amount of equity to tell you that, yes, these companies are good and these companies are worth investing. Of course, if you're coming to invest in the location, most welcome. So we are a nonprofit, but we can do the structuring so that investments in the location are possible. So, you know, when we talk of 4 things that a science park can offer to investors and to startups, it's just not the infrastructure, it's the network that it brings of people and network of friends, like-minded people, like-minded companies, peers and businesses. That is the strongest thing a science park brings in. Because if I'm talking of what does AI do, artificial intelligence, what does it do to a business? What is it? It's a tool to augment the value of a technology or a solution. For what is AI for STPs and AOI? We augment innovations. We bring a network to augment innovation. So AI for STPs, I define as augmenting innovation. So that's what we bring in. And that's a global platform. And what does ISP do? ISP is actually a network of networks. So that really brings in a spider web of a global footprint that investors would have access to.
Thank you so much.
We can build on that.
Thank you so much, Depanvita. I just want to say that we got a bit of a slow start. So we just have 10 more minutes and then there's one more area of questions after this one. So Leandro, please. Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, it's very interesting what they said. And one thing that I was thinking here is the STP, it's not just the area of the STPs, but the region. When you have a science and technology park in your city, you transform not just, in our case, not just the university, you transform every region in our city, because people try to follow what is happening in this innovation park. They try to enter as an employee, as an entrepreneur in this area, to using these beautiful areas, these facilities, and that every help that you can give to these new entrepreneurs, and people improve their knowledge, improve their lives, improve the life of their families. And of course, the government see that as also as a development of the region. So it's different. If they think as an investor, I can see some technology or some new entrepreneur, a startup, and isolated in some city here in Brazil, that there's no support for everyone, from government, for universities, for science technology park. It's very difficult to understand what they are doing and to help them to survive in the market. But if they are inside of the technology park, they have the support, they have the connections, not just inside of the city, but around the world. You have this connection among the parks around the world. If I have some opportunity here, I can call to Herbert and say, Herbert, I have some very good entrepreneur here that needs to enter in the China market. Could you help him? It happens. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a very interesting thing that happens in them. It's a magic that what happens in the science and technology park. So it's my thoughts.
Great. Thank you so much. And over to you in Italy. I know you work a lot with talent attraction and fostering talent to support the growth of your companies.
Yes, because I mean, on top of attracting funds and money, which is of course important, we think actually that innovation is made of people. And that's because you can, let's say, buy technology, develop technology, money, you can find them around the world. And now it's pretty a positive moment, but for talents, there is a really shortage. So we see that here in Chilometro Rosso, but as well in many other science and technology parks and areas of innovation, the role that we can play as this kind of areas, we can be a stimulating and a rich environment, a dense environment to motivate, to attract young talents, and not only the young ones, but even the older ones, to stay together, to interact, and to make things happen. So really the role of science parks we see all over the world, that is really the one of attracting and retaining talents and capabilities. But lately, at least I think 4 or 5 years ago, we were asked by, let's say, our companies, our network companies, the one within the campus, but even the one we're working with around Italy, can you please help us to, let's say, create the talents that we need, create and build the capabilities, the skills that we need, because there is a shortage of this kind of profiles. And when we find someone, maybe he's not really ready to start working in our lab, in our company. So what we did, and we were not active in this area before, we really started some projects to really build profiles that could be hired by companies. And we did this one even with some partnership between private partners and public partners. We have been working with the University of Bergamo, the local university, but we have been working as well with a global corporation offering a workforce solution, a very famous one. But through the support of public funds, we managed to create an academy. And what we do is that we go to companies and we ask them, which are the profiles you will be hiring in the next 6 months, 12 months. So not the job of the future, but your current need of in terms of profiles. And so we start working on designing the training classes, which are public, which are funded with public money. And then we train the young people, and then companies can, let's say, pick from these classes and hire people. And this is working very well. And of course, we have agreements with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Economic Development. And just to tell you, and right now, even with the pandemic period with online classes, we have been shaping more than 1,000 profiles per year, 1,000 young people, and not only young ones per year, based on the specific and declared needs of companies. So it's working pretty well now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really admire your activities when it comes to fostering and training talent. So I bring some words with me. I bring the word trust with me, a selection of companies and entrepreneurs, the fostering of talent, supporting growth methodology, and the brand, of course, as well as the network, which operates locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. So we have a third set of questions, and maybe they will let us have a few minutes extra since we got off to a late start. But we have this SDP strategies and evolution of models. And I think we've heard that some of the SDPs, most of them come from the public sector and have maybe turned into private, but we also have some new that come from the private side and attract the public funding. We also have some new initiatives around sustainability and SDG that I would like to explore. So I ask you to keep it short, but let's start with you, Herbert, and let's make it a try. Thank you.
Okay, I try very quickly. I think the model is a service to the purpose, okay? So the science park is promoting the local, regional economy development, social economy development. So that is the government job initially. So the government will become to the first. So in China, we have the first batch of the science parks all running by the government. And then when after 10 years, I think the private sector coming in. The private sector can provide more professional service because the government officers always go. So the private sector come here to supporting us as a professor. And then government and the public and the private working together. And today we have a private only science park and incubator and innovation networks. That means this industry already been mature and profitable. So the private sector is just coming in. I think when basically for the long term, private sector can provide a temporary power for this speed up of the science park, the industry, but the government have to be always there because the government is the main role for the social and economic development. Last sentence is that the science park is always valued for the investors because the science park is always working in the top of the wave, in the frontier of the science and technology. So if you're wishing to, looking for the good value for the future, then you come to the science park. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Really interesting. And I would like to continue with you, Deepanvita, to explore what you see in the future when it comes to maybe having a new growth model and also include the SDGs. So maybe we lost Deepanvita. Deepanvita, are you with us? Reconnecting. There you are. Should we explore the SDGs together?
Yes, sure. So there was a temporary loss of connectivity, and I got so worried. Oh, thanks, it has come back. So thanks, Lena. You know, as Herbert mentioned, SDP is a traditional economic development tool. So the challenge is, can we actually convert an economic development tool into a sustainability development tool? And what should the regulations be? What are the new norms and policies that globally we should work out as a sustainability development tool? So SEZ is a 25-year-old concept for foreign investments and exports. The focus is exports. Now I think we need to restructure SEZs as SIZs, which means special innovation zones, not special economic zones, with special innovation zones, with special zones for technology development sandboxes. Can we develop those sandboxes, and also R&D and manufacturing capabilities all built into one? So I'll urge the global fraternity to look at how do we transform SEZs to SIZs, and how do we build in sustainability as the core of science park development and all SEZ development. And there, I think we have a huge role to play. Thanks, Lina.
Thank you so much. And Leandro, what's your take on?
Yeah, we think this is a very important subject, because in Brazil, you lost many government support in the last years. But you think the partnership with companies and in the society as well, that everyone should bring their efforts to help the innovation comes up and goes to the market. You are trying to create a new business model for our park. So you create some innovation hubs specific for some verticals like health techs, fintechs, ed techs. When you put together the big companies, the investors, angel investors, VCs, you put the research groups as well, and you bring the society to discuss what their needs, and everybody together can improve the innovation, and you have very interesting solutions that can help not just Brazil, but help with solutions around the world. It's the one model that you are putting in practice right now. And another one is very common in other countries, but in Brazil, it's not so common. It's a spin-off, academic spin-off. When you try to transform that researcher in an entrepreneur. It's different path, different formation. It's very hard to do that in Brazil, but you are trying hard, and probably in the future you have some good solutions come up from our research groups, not just in our university, because you are trying to create a model that can be reused for other institutions around our country. So you believe in the new models for the new normal, the new future.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the last remarks to you in Kilometro Rosso, new investment models.
But what I can say is that, as we know, there's been this study done by the European Commission, the Joint Research Center on public and private partnership for science parks, and they highlighted three models of partnership: the full partnership model, the jump-in, and the management partnership. And they all start from the public investment. And of course, this is the more common way of investing. And they're working well. But from our experience, as I said, we can bring a different point of view where you can start something private. Of course, you need the money, you need the entrepreneur. But then when you have the critical mass, the public will start looking at you and investing. And what I can say, and what we are seeing, especially lately, and especially, for example, in Europe, there are a lot of money that the European Commission is attributing for supporting research and development. The Horizon Europe project will be distributing about more than 95 billion euros in the next 7 years in grants for research and development projects. So, I mean, now it's much easier than many years ago to have access to this kind of funds. And this is the kind of, let's say, partnership that we see between public and private, especially when it starts from the private partner. So I think it's a different way to look at development and attracting funds.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And to try and very quickly summarize why we are relevant for investors, I would say that we have the future talents, the innovative startups, the creative office spaces, And where talent grows, the R&D moves, and where they move, the investor follows, I think. And this is also where we can provide the new innovative groundbreaking solutions for the modern society. And I hope also that we can explore a new growth model that not only build on the economic principles, but also on the social and green principles. So I-zones, I like that, Panvita. Thank you so much to the whole panel for giving your experience and sharing your thoughts on this. And over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miranda. Very insightful panel and very good moderation. So we are almost at the end of our program. So I would like to bring back Ms. Ebba Lund, the CEO of IASP, as one of the speakers of the panel mentioned. IASP works almost as a network of networks. And so, Ms. Lund, the floor is yours for your closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And first of all, a warm thanks also to all the ISP members and representatives who joined us and participated today. I think it's wonderful. There was so much to share that we even ran out of time. And I think with the individuals who joined us today, you can already see this really global dimension of the movement of science parks and areas of innovation. And this is really something that adds value when it comes to enhancing the development of the knowledge-based economy. Of course, there are regional differences. We also saw that in the different presentations, but the industry as a whole, I would say it has really a huge amount to contribute, even beyond economic growth, as also the social and environmental dimension of businesses is really important to us, as we heard from the speakers. And we also heard even some interesting thoughts, ideas for the special economic zones in general, right, related to innovation. Regarding the science parks areas of innovation, we also heard that there are different ownership and governance models, public-private mixed ownerships, also adjusting to the different local contexts. But I would say that wherever they are located, really the science parks areas of innovation, they are hubs of knowledge. They attract and develop really the brightest talent and create these quality jobs and have really this strong focus, as we also heard from London, for instance, on the community. And last but not least, of course, being this gateway to thousands of innovative high growth companies around the world. So I think with these insights, we are very happy being here today. And you can find, of course, out more about the ISP, about our many members around the world by reaching out to us. We are happy to answer any questions and connect. And last but not least, of course, also warm thanks to the organizers for having us all here today at the World Investment Forum. Thank you.